footballing talent in the informal segments. Lady and gentlemen, welcome on set this morning.
Thank you.
All right, maybe I start by introducing you first of all. To my immediate right is Elmad Regan. He's a psychological counselor with CFK Africa. And then we have Vivian Adhiambo, who is a project officer in education and livelihoods programs in CFK Africa. Welcome on set once again.
Thank you.
All right, the first question, kindly tell us more about CFK Africa.
Great, thank you. Thank you for having us. So CFK Africa, formerly called Carolina for Kibera, is an NGO that started in 2001 through the initiative of one person, an American, Rai Bakot, who came to Kenya and met one lady, a former nurse at Kenyatta Hospital called Tabitha Atieno Festo. And at that time, the retired nurse, was helping women get access to, maternal services, but out of our own volition, out of our own space, a 10 by 10 space. And Rai was impressed by this lady's initiative, and he decided to give, the lady some 2,000 shillings to, maybe further the services. And so, long story short, the organization started, of course, through also another co-founder called Salim Mohammed. And they started the organization as a means to help the community members, get access to basic services, maternal services. But then there was need to have more. The question was, how can we augment this to serve even more people in the community? And so that brought on board a mini clinic that was serving the residents of Kibera, because back then there weren't so many health facilities except for Kenyatta Hospital, which was the main referral hospital. But again, issues distance, issues cost, issues sometimes turnaround time were a bit problematic. And so that meant having a clinic within Kibera that would serve the residents of Kibera. And so it was named after Tabitha Festo, the late now. And so it continues on many, many years later. And so we've grown as an organization, and right now we have different aspects that we try to address. The main one being health and livelihoods. So under the health pillar, we have the main clinic. We have a maternity for women, 24 that operates 24 hours to serve the residents of the community. And also we have a youth center, youth-friendly center, which seeks to address the health needs of the youth, as well as addressing some of the social issues that they encounter as young people or as youths. So there's a safe space for them, as well as a space for them to be addressed whenever they have physical health issues, as well as mental health issues. Now, on the other flip side, we have the economic entrepreneurship development and livelihoods project or program, which seeks to again address the needs of the youths in the community, because there's issues of unemployment, there's issues of crime, but how can we see that we address all these needs that they have so that they're well taken care of as a people? And so we transitioned the name to CFK Africa because we thought, let's expand these services even beyond Kibera. We are now into other counties in Kenya, Kilifi, Mombasa, Nakuru. We have Kajiado and Kiambu, and of course Nakuru and Nairobi being the base operation, as well as Kisumu. So that's why the name CFK Africa. Somebody might wonder why Carolina for Kibera. It was the people of North Carolina who were supporting the people of Kibera. So that's why the name came Carolina for Kibera. Right now it's CFK Africa because we are expanding our wings.
Absolutely, and it's such a good initiative. But you look at what really troubles the youth in the country, mental health, like you've talked about. And one thing that has always been said is that having the youth engaging in sports is what has enabled them to overcome that challenge. And that is exactly why we had to focus on, the impact of CFK Africa with the initiative that it has started in the informal settlements in trying to help some of the youth overcome these mental challenges. And one of them is the tournament that you've been hosting in informal settlements. Would you kindly expound on the impact this has had on the youth in the country, as well as the youth in the informal settlements?
Thank you. Engaging kids and engaging youths in sports activities is one of the ways that we use to keep them focused. It ensures that they are not out there doing anything malicious. So we have tournaments. We've been having tournaments for the longest time, and we've impacted over 5,000 youths over the years. And that makes sure that they have a channel. There's this thing that we usually have, opportunity. Talent is universal, opportunity is not. So CFK comes in to bring the opportunity for these kids. They're all talented, they have skill. We bring them an avenue to channel all that they have, and then they're able to progress. To channel their talenta, to channel their lessons that they get in school, then they get access to further services beyond CFK. Yes.
All right. Once again, a very, very good initiative right there. Now, I know you talked extensively about what CFK Africa is all about, but to the specifics of the football tournament, what inspired the organization to start the tournament and you know, supporting the sports personalities in the informal settlements?
Great. So Kibera is a very dynamic place. You know, all cultures, all peoples are, you know, found there. But then one thing that has for the longest time been an issue in Kibera is, you know, ethnic violence. So go back to the early 2000s, there was this, you know, ethnic violence between the Nubians and the Luos. You know, originally speaking and, you know, even administratively speaking, Kibera was, you know, a settlement for the Nubians. But then you see over time, other tribes started coming in, you know, and occupying the space. And predominantly speaking, you know, it's a space where you have a lot of Nubians and a lot of Luos. And so there's a scramble for space and, you know, all this. And so there was this kind of back and forth that Kibera is ours. No, Kibera is ours. And so this spurred a lot of ethnic violence and, you know, profiling. And so then the idea came, how can we bring people together? Because at the end of the day, they're going to share the same space. Maybe they're going to share the same football pitch. And so we thought, let's use football to address this ethnic violence. Yeah. Because football is a universal language that if you go to any country, almost any country in the world, it speaks to them. It addresses some of their problems, their challenges. And so it was used, or rather introduced that let's use sports to bring peace back to the community. And even recently, or rather in the 2007 post-election violence, it was one of the most powerful tools that was used to bring calm and peace back to the community. So that's why sports as a tool, especially football, was used to address some of these challenges that are there.
Absolutely. Yeah. So now to Vivian, how does CFK Africa partner with the community in order to promote these community-based initiatives?
All the strategies that we have at CFK are community-led. We make it our business to know what is going on in the community. So we begin by engaging them, the stakeholders, to find out what is the main need that they have. And then it is through that that we gear our strategies to address these challenges. So we ensure that we're not just doing things for the sake of it. We're actually addressing a need because we're not looking at immediate impact. We're looking at impact 5 years from now. What will the community look like after we are done? Or are we just doing it for the sake of doing it? No. So everything that we do, we consult and we find out, what do you guys need? Over the years, has it changed from what we knew in the past? And then that is how we channel and address our strategies. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, Elmad, at some point you talked about CFK Africa being focused on improving the economic status of some of the people living in the informal settlements, especially the footballers in this case, from the sporting perspective. Now, has the program been successful so far? Have we had a number of footballers who benefited from the program and the economic status improved?
Yeah, definitely. One of the teams that you know, CFK formed, especially the girls team, it was called the CFK Queens team, and they went far and beyond, you know, to make Kibera proud, to make even Kenya proud, because they even played in regional tournaments, you know, just by the power of sports and football. And you know, we can even quote one example of one beneficiary called Suzanne Mweni, who, you know, even received the Queen's Award out of initiatives of, you know, playing football. And right now she has her own organization called Mad Sisters, Making a Difference, you know, just to, again, give back to the community. So hundreds of lives have been transformed and equally changed as a result of the power of sports. Because you see, the problem is when there is no engagement with the young people, then there is a danger, as she mentioned, you know, because assuming they go to school, they learn A, B, C, D, X, Y, Z, then they come back home, then what next? But you see, through the power of sports, when they're given the platform to equally showcase their talent, there's how it even spurs their creativity. There's how it spurs their mental prowess and abilities. Yeah? And so you look at the lives that have been transformed. Some of our beneficiaries have even flown to Europe for football trials, and some have been successful. Some have, you know, come back as community coaches. One example that I can equally quote is of one gentleman, don't directly, you know, a CFK beneficiary, but through our efforts, there is this tournament in Kibera called the Interbase Football Tournament, where different teams drawn from different villages in Kibera come together and they play in a league that, you know, is again meant to spur growth and equally address some social issues like drug abuse, teen pregnancies, violence, and all these issues. Yeah. So all through this, by our efforts of, you know, trying to see what can we address immediately, and as she mentioned again, what can be the long-term effect, then we are proud to say that lives have been changed, sources of income have been established as well, and there's just positive growth in all this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, how has this been received by the community, the footballers in the informal settlements? Because I cover football, from the grassroots, and one thing I know is that the grassroots, especially the informal settlement, is full of talent and full of footballing talent. Mm-hmm. And I assume whenever you're hosting the tournaments, it must be flocking with footballers who want to join the program. So does it have a positive reception from the community?
Mm-hmm. Yes, there is. I'd like to liken this with the world of drugs and substance abuse. Mm-hmm. It's often said that alcohol and cigarettes are the gateway to using more hard drugs. And it's the same with the world of sports. Football is the entry sport for most of the other activities on matters sports and general talent development. So the reception is always massive. Whenever we have tournaments that have been organized, people show up in their large numbers. Women, children, young and old, they all come together because they want to see that neighbor of mine is in that jersey, they're playing in this position. I know them or they know me. And you see, there's that motivation that, my mom came to the field to cheer me on. My brother came along to cheer me on. That Mamamboga, that, Boda Boda rider, escorted me to the pitch. So it's a source of pride that our own son, our own daughter is doing wonders on the pitch. And you see, it's also like an elevator pitch for them to be scouted, potentially to go to, play in other leagues. But what makes much more importance is the fact that they normally come back and give back to the community so that there's that continuity to even develop more talents.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Now, Vivian, the initiative must have a structure because we're looking at the number of talent that is streaming in whenever we're having tournaments being organized. Mm-hmm. What is the structure of hosting such tournaments? Do you have there's a specific group that registers at this time? And just kindly take us through the structure of hosting these tournaments.
Well, the community itself has its own structure. Mm. They have their own community teams. They have the way they are structuring, scheduling the games themselves. Mm. So over the weekends, they know who is playing and which field are we using because we have a limited number of fields. Mm. So we just come in to partner with them. Like I said, we are community-led. It's them taking up the initiative. That way, it is a partnership. We are not pushing our agenda to them. It is coming from them and we are working together with them. So they have their own structure. They organize the league throughout over the weekends, and then we come in and attend. That way we also have our services. We have our tents and offer our health services sometimes, and also champion for what we are doing as well besides the sports activities. We also go into schools. We have partnered with schools, and they allocate us time to work with the kids, have the sports drills, at the same time address the social challenges that the kids are having. So it is not just with the community teams only, we also with the schools as well. Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, one question that I actually got from a resident from Kibera, and they were really curious to understand about the tournament and get to know if there are any incentives, if there's any prize money, if they wanted to register as a team, is there any prize money? And afterwards, do you have nurturing programs?
So we are trying to move away from the aspect of dependency. We don't have to have a prize or an incentive to everything. If it is community-led, like I've said, it is coming from them. They are the ones who want to do it. At the end of it all, if you're competing for something, of course, there is a trophy, there is the jerseys that we give. We have also partnered with the county government as well sometimes to offer and give the gear that they need. We give them football balls, we give them kits, we give them training gear so that they can utilize this as well, the available resources that we have. But oftentimes, it's an initiative we want for them to pick up, not that it has to come with something. Yeah, so it's not usually having an incentive to it.
All right. So to you, Mad. Okay, so this is a very good initiative once again, and like we've said, we can imagine it flocks whenever we're having the tournaments being hosted in Kibera and any other informal settlement in the country. So how does the organization ensure that each and every talent in the informal settlement gets an equal opportunity? Vivian, at some point you talked about talent is universal, but opportunity is not. So how do you make sure that everyone has an equal opportunity and they get to showcase their talent in order to improve their lives, to improve their talent as well as the economic status.
Yeah. Part of our work in the community involves working in schools, as she mentioned, and that means just beyond the normal rote learning, what more can we do? And that's, you know, why sports is there. And so through the teachers that we work with, we try to ask them to bring forth or to identify talents that, you know, are great, not only in football, but say other fields. Like recently, rather in the former years, we used to have a jump rope competition that saw some of the beneficiaries fly to Europe, you know, to showcase their talent. And just from that, jump rope became a very big thing in East Africa and Africa in general. Yeah. So through organizing such scouting, initiatives with the schools that we work with, we get to identify that, you know, school XYZ has brilliant strikers, school FGH have brilliant midfielders. And so just from that pulling them together, and then they come together and form a team that is of their own, means that they have a larger, pool of showcasing their talent locally and even at a global stage. So it is through the schools that we work with, and as well the community members that we work with. You know, sometimes they come on the front and say, hey, we know of this kid from this village or this region who plays really good football or is good at this sport. Do you consider taking them on board to help with the same?
Have you at some point thought of partnering with scouts, football scouts who might spot the talent from the individuals in the community and probably come up with a feeding program that from the CFK Africa football tournaments that we're hosting, we're having a number of scouts who then, once they identify the footballers, the feeding program would be to have the footballers joining some of the clubs in the country or going to a specific football academy to sharpen their skills. Is it something that is in the works from the organization, Vivian?
Yeah, good.
Okay. Yeah, as you said, we're still expanding, we're still growing. It's a relatively huge field to accomplish in one setting. But of course, one of our principles as an organization is having powerful partnerships. You know, not just having partnerships for the sake of having partnerships, but well thought out partnerships with people who mean well. Because unfortunately, we've seen in other settings where kids or youth in general are misused by, scouts who only mean well for themselves and not really there. The beneficiaries who are supposed to gain from this. So yes, it's something that's in the works, and if it's well structured, well thought out, then we believe that something brilliant will come from the offering of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, Vivian, being an expert in matters education and livelihoods program, how important is it from your perspective to nurture talent from a young age in terms of their mental development and career growth?
Yeah, it is important for kids to be allowed to explore beyond just reading the books. We've seen many people succeed, not just academically, but because of what they are able to do. So catching the kids at a young age, nurturing what they are trying to bring out is very important. They are able to develop and grow these skills as they go, and they're able to be identified by other people as well. So if we can offer that platform for them to be able to express themselves, then of course we will do it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Elmad, as a psychologist, because many a times we've had this, we've had politicians, various leaders in the country talking about driving the change in the society through sports, because a lot of youth, since most of them are actually unemployed, unfortunately, they tend to engage in social vices. But from a psychologist's perspective, how important is it to keep the youth engaged in order to help them avoid the social vices?
Yeah, sports in general is a vital tool to help address some of the social vices, as you've mentioned, because minus that, the cognitive development of the youth or the child will be, at question. Because as the child grows, there are different stages that they need to achieve, certain milestones that they need to achieve. But minus the tangible, physical, interaction in terms of sports, then a part of their development, especially cognitively, is affected. Yeah, and so if from the time this child starts showing some promise in the field of sports, then we should allow them. You see that kid kicking, a bottle on the road. Fine, it might seem a bit risky, but allow them express that. Maybe that's what they want to, to do in the near future. Maybe they don't know that it's football, but that's how they're expressing that. Hey, I have interest in this. if the child is always, fond of ropes, they want to skip all the time, they go to the hang line, they, jack off the rope and, start skipping, don't reprimand them as yet. Let them explore, let them, show what they have to, to do with the rope for that reason. So really, it's equally a multifaceted approach where the teacher is involved, the parent is involved, and equally the community is involved, so that this child grows knowing that I have backing from home, I have backing from school, I have backing from the community in terms of my sports development or my talent development as far as engagement is concerned.
Absolutely. Yeah. Very well put right there. Now, where next does CFK Africa intend to host the football tournament? And, rather, before we get to that question, is the tournament based only in Kibera, or rather are the initiatives from the organization only based in Kibera, or all the informal settlements within Nairobi or across the country?
Regan mentioned that we have expanded to 7 other counties, and we have our health programs as well as the education scholarship program that we have moved to these areas. So the plan now is to move full force, have every other strategy that we have put into these areas. And we are specific to the informal settlements because we know there are limited resources for these people. So in the past years, we've dwelled a lot in Kibera, which we will still do because that's our home. But we do intend to move to the other areas with the other strategies as well.
Absolutely. Yes. And in terms of, or rather for the sake of the footballer who's probably watching from Kwale County, or another one who's watching from Northeastern, maybe they would want to understand where next, or rather how they could catch the tournament and participate in it. So where next is the tournament being hosted?
Great. So often than not, we do post our activities on our social media platforms as well as our website. So at the masses, wherever they're watching from, we post this on a regular basis whenever there's such engagements. So they should be on the lookout in case there is any. They'll always be, updated and posted on our website and social media handles. The one that we had just recently was one to, spur that spark again in the community, because they were like, hey man, it's been a while, why don't you bring it back again? And so we went back and they're like, we want more of this. So we said, okay, well put, well captured, let's drive it more. But of course, we'll be posting them as time goes by.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Once again, this is a very good initiative, just focusing on promoting and uplifting football, community-based football, and more so going deep into the informal settlements. It is a plausible deed. And that raises the next question in terms of support. Vivian, you talked about working with the county government over time and again. But in terms of support, have you been getting much support from other well-wishers and, basically the support that you've been getting so far?
Yes, we have in the past worked with several partners, like Regan mentioned, powerful partnerships. People who have the people in the informal settlements at heart, because there are several challenges that they go through, and football is an avenue to express themselves. So we've had people give us support in the past in terms of football kits, the balls, and we are able to give this to the communities just to utilize these incentives, yes. All
right, absolutely. Well, the conversation that we're having right now is absolutely important because, remember, we are looking at improving the state of football in the country. None of them is developing football in the grassroots by identifying the talent. Well, CFK Africa have come up with the initiative and not only supporting football, but the welfare of the people living in the informal settlements, but focusing on the football tournament. It is from that initiative where they will identify the talent that lies untapped in the informal settlements, and once, in the latter days to come, or rather in the soon days to come, we shall be seeing some of these footballers representing the country in international football tournaments. The conversation does not end right here. We'll do a short break, but don't go too far. When we come back, we'll be telling you more about the initiative that has been started by CFK Africa.
You are watching TV47, the home of untold stories. to the Moi Kibaki Convention Center, the premier events venue. Our state-of-the-art facilities are designed to meet all your needs, from large-scale conferences to intimate meetings and everything in between. Located in the heart of Thika, the Moi Kibaki Convention Center offers stunning views of the city skyline and is easily accessible from all major transportation hubs. Our facility features ample parking, free Wi-Fi, advanced audiovisual equipment, and our technical team is always on hand to ensure your event runs smoothly and seamlessly. Don't take our word for it. Make your next event unforgettable at the Moi Kibaki Convention Center. Contact us today for bookings and reservations. Email multimedia@mku.ac.ke or call us on 0708 212204 or 0727 441733 or 0721 438 629 to learn more about our services and book your event. Visit our website, that is www.malulanishop.com, or you can call us on +254 103 617 476, or get us on social media at Malulani Beauty across all platforms and experience the joy of finding high-quality beauty supplies at affordable prices. Visit us at Malulani Shop and let us help you find your inner beauty today. You are watching TV47, the home of untold stories.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. In case you're just joining us, this is Morning Cafe's Monday Sports Roundup. Before we headed into the break, we were having an important conversation regarding uplifting community-based football as well as the welfare of the people living in the informal settlement. And one organization has come to the fore in supporting footballers in the, rather living in informal settlements in the country. That is CFK Africa. Well, this morning I'm joined by a psychologist known as Elmad, as well as Vivian from CFK Africa. Once again, karibuni sana.
Thank you.
All right, to continue the conversation, we want to talk about the other strategies of CFK Africa in terms of uplifting community-based initiatives.
Yeah, when we started, we mentioned we have a health program. We have an outpatient clinic called Tabitha Clinic. We also have a maternity home, Tabitha Maternity Home. We also have a youth-friendly center where the youth from the community, sometimes they don't want to bump into other community members when they're going to the main clinic. So they have that space for them to also access clinical services as well as have a space to do any other activities that they have. And then on the educational livelihoods end, we have a strategy that is working with informal schools to find out the best ways to ensure that kids are coming to school every day. On the same note, we also have a scholarship program that is geared towards helping the bright but needy kids. And then we also now have the value-based sports, where we use the sports drill to address matters of social change, social issues in the community. And then we have we have the livelihoods bit that is working with youths to have work readiness programs with them, as well as digital literacy for the youth between age 18 to 24.
All right, all right. So that basically sums up the plausible need that comes from CFK Africa and improving the livelihoods of footballers as well as the individuals living in the informal settlements. Well, we can say congratulations and asante sana to CFK Africa for the initiative. Now, from that point, remember the conversation of improving the state of football in the country continues, and one of the key tenets is the developing grassroots